In a war of ego, the loser always wins, says one of the best quotes. Hello, listeners. Here is Giridhar, and you are listening to the podcast Giridhar's Gardi. Today, we have someone who is smart, silent, sweet, cool, friendly, organized, and above all, a principled man. He has his own way of creating an impact in any environment with his down to earth nature, also known for his mature way of handling things. Presenting the guest for today's episode, Prithvi. Hi Prithvi, welcome to Girdhas Gardi. How are you doing today?
Hi, Giri. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. That's quite an adulation. I'm doing good.
Yeah, great. Just one question before we start. How do you feel like being here as a guest on this podcast?
Uh, I have listened to a lot of podcasts before, but I never thought I would be a participant in a podcast one day, Giri. I must thank you a lot for that.
Great. Thank you so much, even from my end, for being a guest on my podcast.
Yeah.
And, all right. So let's proceed with our concept today. So, Prithvi, tell me, what is this ego all about?
Okay. There could be many definitions for ego, but I would simply define it like this. Ego means why should I? Yeah. This question pops up a lot of times. Why should I speak first? Or why should I apologize? Why should I invite him? Yeah. It happens in everybody's life at some stage or the other, at least once. So the converse is why shouldn't I? Yeah. If why should I is replaced with why shouldn't I think it'll solve a lot of problems. Or if it doesn't solve, probably it will neutralize, to an extent. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, according to you, why do people usually have this ego?
We cannot attribute ego to a particular situation or certain behavior or genes or anything. I think it is the innate personality of a person, and I think just like a person is immensely influenced by his parents and surroundings. Ego, is developed at some point of time. But a few situations might give a chance, a golden chance to everyone, to shed it. In case if they don't, yeah, then whatever the consequences could be, so that is what inspired me to suggest this topic, Giri.
Okay, that's great, Prithvi. You now that you were talking about the consequences, let me put my next question in this way. What is the role of this ego in affecting the relationships, or what are the consequences of this ego on the relationships?
Huh. So let us take a simple example. We all are working in MNCs right now. We all are a part of at least one or two teams, right?
Yes.
Now if you take any team, uh, it'll be a group of different people, from different backgrounds. Now what is the most sensitive part is each and everyone comes with a different set of experiences, not just technical proficiencies, but also other experiences, life skills and all. Now in a particular year, one person could be promoted, who may not really deserve it, but uh, luck could favor him or her. Or or probably he is really eligible for that, but others might not think so. Now, then this disparity starts. Why should he be promoted? Why shouldn't I be promoted? I am more skillful than him, or I have more experience, and I have demonstrated leadership better than the other person. So these kind of thoughts, will be running in all the team members' minds. But what they should understand is, no, this is a long journey. The promotion of one person in a particular year cannot define each and every other member's skill set, or their capabilities. Yeah, it's a long journey, and it could be that person's day. That's it. So they should not define a performance, or the ethics of the superiors, just by one incident. So they must be patient enough, and they must also understand that it is their superior's decision which is final. But then if they think that they are above the team, or they are above their superiors also, then their life during that time will become miserable. And what is the reason for all this? Ego. It is not necessarily self-centeredness, but then it is a feeling that I am better than others. Yeah, let us be better than others. Even then we can be friendly with our peers, even if they get promoted, even if they get recognized more. So we can still move friendly with them. There's nothing wrong. And we can always wait for our big day. Yeah. So but that takes a lot of experience, I believe.
Yeah, well said, Prudvi. That's absolutely true. I agree with each and every word of what you have said just now. Because for the people who have such feeling, I'm sure they will be convinced with the way that you have clearly described the situation and the solution.
Thank you, Giri.
All right. Yeah. All right, so let's move a bit little further on this topic. We hear that there's a thin line between ego and self-respect. So, what is it all about, and what is the difference between these two?
Till date, even I could not figure out that thin line of difference between self-respect and ego. But I can definitely tell that there is nothing wrong in going the extra mile for our near and dear. Be it in the family setup, or with respect to our colleagues and friends, outside the bloodline. So in order to strengthen a relationship, or in order to preserve a relationship, sometimes we will have to agree, although we disagree. And sometimes we will have to apologize, although there is no mistake of ours. So we have to keep the bigger picture in mind. It's not about one small moment where we have to respect the other person, although we don't like doing that. It's about the bigger picture. That means the relationship is more important than our anger or our feelings at one particular point of time. But then if we think we will become very vulnerable by surrendering ourselves, or by acting unaffected by the other person's taunts or remarks, I think we can stay away, so that our self-respect will not get dented. But then I think that is the difference between ego and self-respect. The person who is very egotistic, he or she will not be able to bear any kind of negative remark against him or her. But the person who has self-respect will wait, will be little patient to an extent. And the person who doesn't have who doesn't have much self-respect, who doesn't have ego at all, will just smile and just do his job. I think that is the blissful position that everybody should aspire to be at.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe arriving at that position is really difficult, maybe for most of the people.
Uh, yeah, could be. It could be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so my next question is the most important aspect of our episode today, that is how to let go of our ego.
Huh. Yeah. So how do we answer that? So I would say, no, we must always remember uh, the beautiful moments, that we have with the other person or the other group before, we sever ties in the name of, ego or something else, that is as negative and forceful as it. What happens often in relationships, a small mistake or a small folly will snowball into a big issue that will endanger the relationship itself. So what I would say is, no, we all are human beings, and at core we are emotional. No matter how analytical we think we are, no matter how much rational we try to employ in our day-to-day decisions at work and at family at home, yeah, we are still very emotional, so at the core, inside. So I think love is the medicine or the magic potion that can be used to treat every problem. Yeah, we may not heal it completely. We may not heal each and every injury completely, but definitely, it will serve as a temporary relief. So instead of taking, the other person's words seriously, then that means, literally, if we try to be little patient and try to understand the other person's state a bit, and if we share love, I think if we start thinking and acting like that, then this whole ego trip can be avoided completely. uh, I think so love is the answer, Giri. So instead of hating the other person, instead of disowning someone, instead of severing ties with the other person, if we try to be a little loving, if we try to be little affectionate, instead of moving on, or alienating that person, I think it could reverse the situation. Who knows? Surprisingly, and it could teach a lesson to the other person also if the fault really lies at the other end. So love is the answer, Girish. I think there is no other way.
Yeah, absolutely true, Prithvi. Once again, I can say that you told the exact thing, and a beautiful word called love. I am able to hear at this point. uh, so now that you are saying that the results of having, I mean, keeping our ego aside, that it could teach the other person as well a good lesson. So I just want to know some more positive results of keeping our ego aside.
So the best part would be, uh, we will avoid all kinds of silly conflicts when we keep ego at bay. When we commit a mistake inadvertently or knowingly, we will be ready to apologize and admit our mistake. Yeah, so that will be the first benefit of avoiding ego as much as possible. Yeah, and self-respect will not be affected by any way when we admit our mistake. Yeah, in fact, our hearts will be lighter, and we will feel much better when we admit our mistakes, and we will feel even better when the other person accepts them, right? So when the other person forgives us, or when the other person acknowledges our uh, our sincerity, we will feel very better. So that's the first benefit, first advantage. And the second is relationships will be very strong, be it husband and wife, brother and sister, or superior and subordinate, parents and children. It could be anything. When we avoid ego, we will tend to be little obedient. We will be more tolerant than an average person, and by being that way, we will be warm and approachable to a lot of people, because everybody's temperament is decided by a lot of factors. But then when we are when we are little patient, little tolerant, a lot of people will get attracted to us. If we are hot headed, and if we tend to take even a small remark very seriously, we will become less approachable, and people will think twice, or they will avoid talking to us or even approaching us for any help. And so everybody knows what the consequences are of being less approachable. Yeah. So we will be more approachable when we keep ego at bay. And last, we will avoid unnecessary trouble. Yeah. When we don't take ourselves very seriously, even if there is negative energy around, it cannot do anything to us. So we will irradiate a lot of positive energy, and people will love us, people will respect us for that, for not being very superciliant, or for not being very self-centered. So yeah, so we will be more approachable, and we will not court trouble, uh, and we will be happy. No, so to sum it up, I can say life is a long journey, and we have to walk sometimes, we have to run. Yeah. We have to leap. So all kinds of adventures are required. But then uh, if we do that by carrying a huge weight, it will become very difficult. Yeah. So just imagine carrying 10 kg sack on our back and running on the ground. It won't be easy, right? But running alone, without any baggage, proverbial and physical baggage, so how easy would it be, right? So ego is that kind of baggage that slows us down, that doesn't allow us to progress faster. So it's not just a simple speed breaker, but it's a huge impediment. So let us not let anything slow us down in life. So we should make the most of everything. We should run when required, we should walk when required, and do each and everything gracefully, so without letting anything pull us down or hold us back.
Wow, that's amazing, Prithvi. I'm sure it will create a lot of positive impact on anyone who is going to listen to this episode. I'm sure about it, including me, of course.
Thank you, Giri.
Yeah. So, Prithvi, my next question is just the vice versa of the question that I just asked you. What are the consequences of holding on to our ego?
So, as long as the people around us are little submissive, there won't be any problem with ego. But then again, so how long will be surrounded with people who are always obedient to us, who will never say no to us, who will never caution us against our actions, and who will not mind asking us to mend our ways. Yeah. So there will always be no's around us, there will always be warnings, from others. In fact, they are part and parcel of our lives, right? So it is not necessary that we always choose the right path. Yeah. So there will be people who will admire us for what we are, and at the same time there will be people who criticize us for what we are. So if we are not very egotistic and self-centered, we will take the criticism positively. But when we have uh, when we have even little ego, absorbing such criticism will be very difficult. So even if some criticism is valid, it will be very hard to accept it. Yeah. But then positive criticism is required, and even negative criticism has to be taken in one's stride. But how is that possible when a person is egotistic, right? So that's a very big demerit. Yeah. And secondly, as I stretched before, the strength of any relationship depends on how the each person in the relationship is ready to sacrifice anything for the other person and for the sake of relationship. Now this readiness or to give up something, the readiness to let go of something that is very close to our heart for the sake of relationship or the other person. So how will that come if a person is egotistic? Yeah. So it is not about being detached or something. uh, in a way it is. So it's not about being unmaterialistic. But then only when we put others above us, at least in a few situations, we will be able to give enough importance and take care of people around us. But then if we keep uh, us above others, then it will not be easy. It will not be possible to sacrifice anything. But simple sacrifices are an integral part of our lives. So ego will have a huge impact on us when we have to give up something for others. I think so there can't be a graver consequence than that, Giri. Yeah. So only when we let go of our ego, we will be able to give up anything else in life. So as long as we are egotistic, we won't we won't be willing to do anything that will make us slightly unhappy. But what is important is the long run. So what is sustainable need not be very attractive at this moment, but in the long run it will be. So short-term pleasures and short-term gratifications are not good in relationships. But then this ego feeds on them only. So instant gratifications are the food for ego. So making other person say sorry, making other person wait for us, making other person speak first, making other person do the job. So those are all instant gratifications. So that's what feeds the ego. So if we think that is all trash, we will just ignore it, treat other person just like we treat ourselves, and it is just bliss, nothing else.
Wow. So, so far we have seen the theoretical explanation of letting our ego, letting our ego aside, or keeping our ego aside. So now we want to hear a practical example. So can you share with us any of your personal experiences with respect to letting go of this ego?
Sure, Giri. Uh, I pursued my MBA in Xavier Institute of Management and Entrepreneurship, Bangalore campus, between 2013 and 15. So those 2 years, were the most traumatic part of my life. I can easily say that. I learned a lot. A lot of my prejudices disappeared. A lot of my biases also vanished. I became a much better person than I was before joining the institution. So how the miracle happened, how the attitude transformation happened means I served as a class representative and as a placement committee member, student placement committee member for more than a year. When you serve in leadership positions, what happens? The only motive or objective for you will be to serve the audience and nothing else. Yeah. And serving the audience or the target members is not easy. There will be a lot of hiccups, there will be a lot of challenges. Yeah. In the process of overcoming them, this ego, the monster inside us, it will be crushed and beaten to death. So if we really serve in those in any leadership position with sincerity, there will not be any place for ego, because when we are serving people, we put all of them above us. Yeah. So I mean, in a way I can call it servant leadership. Yeah. So that is what is all about, right? So serving by example is one thing, and thinking that you are a servant who is tasked with a few responsibilities of serving the people is one thing. So during that period, there were many instances when I was irritated to the core, when I was frustrated. But then after that, after that period, what I understood is there is nothing wrong, in doing little extra work for the people who are in need, and nothing wrong, in taking ourselves less seriously, because the fruits, the result will be beautiful, and we will realize that only when we let go of our ego. Yeah. So there will be times when people will make us wait. There will be times when people will disappoint us, but then we need not take them very seriously. So there will be some anger, so we have to overcome it as soon as possible, and then still only spread love to the whole world. If we start remembering all the negative things that happen to us, and seethe in anger, and try to seek revenge on all those who caused us misery, even for a second, life will be very chaotic, and there won't be any sanity. Serving in those leadership positions helped me a lot, and that is when I realized that if a person overcomes his or her ego, it is a very big achievement in life, in any person's life. Yeah.
Superb, superb. When you were talking about the servant leadership, I could easily relate my experience in Toastmasters. So wherein I served in some of the leadership positions there. Good. Prithvi, just one message for our listeners with respect to letting go of our ego.
Um, Generally, uh, uh, when our goal is very superior, even if we don't achieve it, whatever we go through to achieve it will make the journey very memorable. So everybody, everyone who is successful will tell us to set very lofty goals. Yeah. uh, but then what I would apply the same to relationship as well. do not uh, tend to judge a person, by one incident, or one episode, where some anger or some negative emotion is displayed. Please give everyone a second chance, and then always treat other people as you would like to be treated by others. Yeah. So this is what I learned in my school, Christian missionary school. Yeah. I think my whole attitude, it stems from that saying. We should always treat others just like we would like to be treated at any point of time. So the other person could be our parent, or our friend, a good colleague, or a stranger, no matter who the other person is. So if we keep this in mind, then the point of ego will not be anywhere in the proximity. Yeah. If we just try to let go of our ego, we may not be very successful. But then if we start loving each and everyone, and be friendly with everybody, no matter what they are accepting as they are, then not only we will avoid ego, but make our lives very, very beautiful. Yeah.
All right. That's an amazing message, Prithvi. So, my last question to you: what is the impact on the society if everyone keeps their ego aside?
Giri, it'll be a paradise. So they
Correct.
say that there will come a day when gods will descend on earth, for the earth will be more beautiful than the paradise. But for that day, we will have to perform a lot of good deeds, and be very, very positive in every way. But then for that day to come, the seeds that we have to sow today are of gratitude, and infinite love. And if we have to achieve such lofty things, then we must let go of our ego immediately.
All right. Yeah, let's hope that someday we'll see that paradise on earth.
Yes, Giri.
Yeah. So, Prithvi, before we wind up everything, now it's time for us to have a short rapid fire round. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Giri.
Yeah, great. So, my first question to you, Prithvi: win or lose?
Win and lose, both.
Oh, that's great. A wise answer. Friend or foe?
Friend, of course.
Okay. Discovery or invention?
uh, Invention. Yeah.
Okay, because discoveries can be made anytime.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Knowledge or wisdom?
uh, Definitely wisdom, but then I think the journey begins with knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Mobile or laptop?
Laptop.
Okay. Weekdays or weekends?
Whole week. Whole week. Why choose
Okay.
just one day or 2 days? Yeah. So all 7 days should be ours. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Heart or soul?
Mm, Soul.
Okay. Host or guest?
For now, host. Yeah.
Okay. Employer or employee?
Employee.
Okay. My last question to you, Prithvi. In fact, it's my most favorite one in this rapid fire round. Giridhar or Prithvi?
CSC section of our batch, 2010.
Now you have even included everyone from our college. I mean,
Yes,
all the
all
complete
the
section.
120. Yes.
Super. So, all right. Thank you so much for being with us on this podcast, Prithvi. We look forward to having you once again in this show in the near future.
Pleasure is all mine, Giri. Thanks a lot for the invite, and I would love to participate again in the future. Yeah,
Great. Thank you once again, Prithvi. We wish you all the very best for your endeavors.
thank you, Giri. Thank you all.
That's the end of the episode, listeners. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed listening to this episode. I'll be back next week with another amazing guest. Stay tuned and bye bye for now.